Yo guys, what is going on? Welcome back to another video on the channel. So today guys, we are back and we have actually a reaction video. We haven't done a reaction video in a while. I think since my beef with Inception was the last time we did it. Still waiting to sell the tickets. But anyways guys, today we're going to be checking out a video from Stallion, who is a super passionate, reliable, and trustworthy source regarding gameplay. He's actually working on a football game right now as well. And we've reacted to a video of his before, and it was a really good video. So I got sent this about a couple days ago, and I was planning on recording this. And yeah, the title of the video is "The FIFA Community is Wrong About Realism." Now, I know where this is probably going to start to stem from, because in the beginning of this FIFA, there was a lot of like Reddit threads about how this is the most realistic FIFA ever, and how people really enjoy it. It looks like the video is going to start off based on a tweet that I did see from Boris Legend, which was, "I miss the old FIFA days, arcade style, ping pong, crispy left stick, and fast turns. I understand they must change things up year to year and perhaps make it more realistic, but I miss when it just felt like a game." And I can already, really agree with that tweet. Yeah, we're gonna watch the video, guys. If I feel like I've got to stop it to really make like a true reaction, I'll do that. I'll probably try to talk over it at times at parts. But yeah, it looks like it's a discussion video. So without further ado, let's check it out. If you enjoy the video, drop a thumbs up and check out Stallion's channel. I'm gonna link his channel in the description down below.
I know you guys are used to perfectly scripted videos for myself with clips that match what I'm saying on the screen, but sometimes you just gotta rant, and today we need to talk about realism in football video games. Now, Boris made this tweet, and he says, "I miss the old FIFA days. Arcade-style ping-pong, crispy left stick, and fast turns. I understand they must change things up year to year and perhaps make it more realistic, but I miss when it just felt like a game, unrealistic or not. Maybe I'm just getting old. You tell me." He then also adds, "Note, I like today's FIFA also, but I just had more fun in the old versions." So definitely, he's one of the lucky ones, because if you at least enjoy what you have, at least you can enjoy your gaming experience. For those like me, I absolutely have zero fun playing a game like next gen FIFA, which is why I'm on old gen. But today's video is not about that, especially because old gen FIFA is still so far off the mark of what a video game about football could be. But at the very least, it's playable compared to new gen, which for me is completely unplayable. But to this tweet, as you could have seen earlier, I quoted it to start a discussion with my followers, and I said the game is gone, simple as. And that's to say, with the whole hyper motion and the new gen, it's gone, man. We're never getting the FIFAs that
I agree with that. I agree with that.
For new games to come out and hopefully create an arcadey, but more on that arcadey versus realism in a second. I also said, make no mistake though, the newer FIFAs are no more realistic than the old ones. There's more to realism than speed of the game. A fast game with no skill cancels, Trivela long shots, keeper movement, etc., because you could just add any gimmicky feature that FIFA has had in the last few years, is more realistic than whatever this is. And
I think that's really well said. And I think what's really interesting for me is that it's apparent to me that the majority of the community is really focused on how the game looks, like graphically. And yeah, that seems to be like the main thing. So I'll give you an example. Like, I currently feel like the feeling of scoring a goal when you look at PES and FIFA. When you score a goal on FIFA, it feels robotic because you're constantly trying to get to a spot, whether it's an extra pass, a cutback, an elastico. When I play PES, I feel like the goals, although graphically that game looks like it's 20 years behind FIFA, it flows a lot better. The goals are more creative. They come from different types of passing plays, where I feel like FIFA's always felt a little bit more robotic, especially the last 3 to 4 years on the newer gen. I think it started in FIFA 21. The new gen, which was one of Stallion's first points here, has really felt like it's ruined FIFA. Whereas I feel like I see it in that lens, Stallion sees it in that lens. It feels to me, though, that a lot of the community, and I'm not necessarily saying you guys watching this video, because I also know that my audience is hardcore people who play the game every day, like to watch packs or market discussion, or number two, hardcore players that play every day and like to watch gameplay. And I know that most of you guys watching are hardcore FIFA players. I don't expect this to be a lot of you, but I do see the generalized community really enjoying the graphics, right, of this newer gen FIFA. So I think that's why a lot of people think it's more realistic, when the realism is really going to stem from the mechanics of the game. Let's keep watching. Sorry.
And this is super important because I feel like the word realism and the word arcadey has been completely misunderstood, misrepresented within the space of gamers who play football video games. And this is what I want to discuss today, because I assure you that of those of you watching, if you're saying that you like FIFA 23 because it's realistic, you don't. You don't like it because it's realistic. You don't want realism. You don't know what you're talking about when you say that, and don't get offended, but it's just the truth, and I'm going to explain it in this video, because if you did like realism, then you wouldn't be playing FIFA. You'd be playing PES, eFootball, whatever it's called, because that's the most realistic simulation that you can play. Next
Wow,
gen
you just
FIFA
said it.
or Hypermotion FIFA, these FIFAs aren't more realistic just
Doesn't
because,
mean it's good, though.
the game is
It's not
slower,
good.
you can turn less responsively. Maybe in that specific aspect, they're trying to emulate real football more, but there's much more to the game than that. Now you just have these games that are really slow, but they have extremely unrealistic
Very
features.
slow.
We can start listing them. A feature like keeper movement is not a realistic feature. You can think that it is. You can start fooling yourself that it is, but it isn't, because keepers in real life will not be able to move along the line as quickly as they do in FIFA.
Yeah.
And to add to that, they wouldn't even ever do that, because when you play as a keeper in real life, there are certain fundamentals that you don't let go of. You move alongside the ball, and you will always guard the near post. But that's not the case in FIFA, because the way keeper movement translates in the video game of FIFA is that it leads to a lot of situations where, because of keeper movement, you get rewarded by leaving the near post to predict a shot on the far post. And that would never happen the way that it does in real life, that it does in FIFA. It's a completely unrealistic thing that gets added to add a skill gap. Does it add a skill gap? That's a different discussion. In my opinion, the net skill gap that it adds is not worth it. The skill gap that you add in terms of differentiating between someone good at keeper movement and someone bad is not worth it, because at the end of the day, it makes chances that should be easy a lot harder than they should. And
it also adds this variable that when you get to an 100% angle after breaking someone down, it gives the opponent still a chance to stop you, when if someone really breaks you down, they should probably just be scoring. There shouldn't be any bailout.
that's the most important thing. Creating chances that are easy is a much bigger skill gap than letting someone get bailed out by keeper movement, which is a bailout mechanic. Another unrealistic feature, I don't know, canceling skills. How is it unrealistic? It's literally impossible, bro. You could say it adds to the skill gap. Okay, it adds a mechanical aspect to the skill gap, as in, yes, you have to be faster on your fingers and more coordinated. It's one of those things that, it's not that difficult if you're already an elite division player. It differentiates more so like an elite division player from, I don't know, a silver player. The elite should probably be able to cancel skill moves more effectively, and then within the elite divisions, some people are going to be even more cracked than others, of course. But okay, let's just assume it adds a mechanical skill gap. So what? Okay, is it that important? Because I don't think it is. A lot of the times, people who spam skill cancels, they might be good and fast, but how good is it? Because if they were as good as people make it out to be, then they would be able to skill cancel much more accurately relative to the needs of the game. But there's a reason that when people go on skill cancel runs, a lot of the times, while they can't skill cancel 5-10 times in a row, they might miss 4, 5, 6, 7 shooting opportunities. That is, they may have not realized that, oh, they didn't even need to do the last 5 skill cancels because they had about 3 times that they had the opponent on skates and they could have stopped and shot. But the reason they don't stop and shoot is because they actually aren't thinking about it as much as you think they are. It's more spam, 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 and then hope that once you've done stop spamming, your opponent is gone. If it was as controlled as people made it out to be, the immediate second that you create a spot or a spot to shoot or a space to shoot, you would stop, but you don't. Why? Because it's spam. So there's less thought process behind it and more of a mechanical skill gap that you spam, 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 and boom. That's it. I hope that was clear, but at the end of the day, it's not necessarily about realism, it's but what adds to the skill gap of the game, and it's where you fall. Personally, I fall under the umbrella of people who think that the game should be a user decision based game. It should be more about decision making and using quick thinking with efficient output, not spamming outputs, and combining that with visions and runs and blah blah blah. But another unrealistic feature, I don't know, timed finishing. I mean, it's realistic to assume that sometimes you hit the ball better than in other times, sure, But at
It's
the end of
not
the day,
it's
it's
not
still a
really
gimmicky
necessary.
feature
I
because the
agree.
only way to make it
I
worthwhile
don't really mind
in
time
a football
finishing
video
though for
game
long
is to
shots.
make
I
it so
think it
that
adds
if you
maybe
do
like
green it,
a cool
then
factor
you
to
are
being
now
able to
able
green those, and
to
it
score shots
gives you
that
a
you
higher
otherwise
chance.
wouldn't
But
have been able to. And this is a big problem because at the end of the day, shooting should be very, very simple. If you craft an open look, it should be a higher percentage that it goes in. If you don't, then there's no reason that it should go in. Just because you timed a shot correctly shouldn't override things that come before it. For example, if I
agree.
blocked your shot, but you now green it, why are you now entitled to nutmeg me? It makes no sense. The same things that you've told that you guys have seen in my videos for years. All of this to say that, you know, the games nowadays with hypermotion and this, they might look more realistic, but in essence, they are not more realistic than the old ones because the pace of the game is slow, but the features within the games are completely gimmicky, completely unrealistic, and lead to a game that has nothing to do with football. You might say that the old
FIFA 22, right? Drop back meta. FIFA 21, bridge, directional nutmeg. Hold the through ball button as you face the sideline and use fullbacks at center back. FIFA 23. This game, really so far, Trivella's AI defending. Lengthy to start the game. That might change now. Which I guess you could argue lengthy is kind of a meta in real life with Haaland, but then there's other players that it didn't make sense with that people were abusing. FIFA 20. FIFA 20 wasn't that unrealistic. The problem with FIFA 20, yes, the manual defending was better. Yes, the left stick and the passing was nice. The problem with FIFA 20 was it was too centered around the drag back in the middle. Near post shots were better than far post, which makes no sense. And there was just those kind of things going on, and it was very slow. So that game was also very slow. FIFA 19, do we even need to speak about that game? And FIFA 18. So for me, guys, FIFA 18, that's 5 FIFAs ago, was the last FIFA that was the closest to realism. A lot of low drivens in FIFA 18, a lot of low driven finesses, very consistent at those angles, a lot faster, passing was really good, a lot more based on left stick and simple skills. Heel to heel, maybe roulette, a lot more realism in that game. So I feel like for me, just off the top of my head, that is the most realistic and way more realistic FIFA we've had in the last, you could say, almost 5 titles now.
old FIFAs don't look realistic. It's not realistic to go at a certain pace. It's not realistic for things to go so end to end, even though it is more fun. But the implementation was a lot more realistic. If you look at the goals scored in pro tournaments back in the day, compared them to the last few years of FIFA, I mean, I sure as hell can tell you that the more realistic goals come from the more arcadey games, because although unrealistic in the pace at which the game unfolds, the games used to be more realistic in the features because you didn't have the arcadey gimmicks that are now added nowadays.
Correct.
So now FIFA tries to make both parties happy. They try to make the party of realism happy by making them turn slow, and they have no idea that the game's unrealistic because they don't even have the skill level to untap all these unrealistic features. And they try to make the pros happy by adding these completely gimmicky mechanics into the game so that there's some sort of skill gap differentiator, because there's nothing to separate players anyways between vision, passing, tackling, defending, and all this other stuff. All that stuff has been completely leveled out to the ground.
The reason why it's been leveled out, passing, dribbling, pace, is because EA is making the game slower. If the game was faster, fast requires decision making and skill gap.
No more skill gap. You need other things to create a skill gap, and that is these unrealistic features. So when people say that the new FIFAs are realistic and the old ones are unrealistic, I don't know what the fuck they're talking about, to be honest with you, just to be completely frank. It makes no sense to me. They're both arcadey as hell, just in different ways. The old ones were arcadey in terms of pace, but they were realistic in terms of features and implementations and the ways that goals were scored. The new ones might be realistic in terms of pace, but they're completely unrealistic in terms of features. They're completely unrealistic in terms of the most efficient ways to score, and they're completely unrealistic in terms of the decision making that you would take. And finally, on top of that, the whole concept of realism versus not realism is just so misrepresented because, and this is why I said, you guys don't want realism because you guys want VAR. I mean, maybe some of you guys want VAR. You guys want handballs. Those are realism.
Oh my God.
You guys want nutmegs. I mean, is it realistic to have
Imagine
a shot
VAR
go
in
through my
FIFA.
leg if I block that perfectly? It is realistic, but that doesn't mean that it should be in the game. And I never said that I wanted a realistic game because I get a lot of people, why don't you play next gen? It's a lot more realism, right? It's not. It's not realism. I want a game that is fair and competitive, and I'm not saying it's easy to make one, because you have to know what you're talking about to decide what fits into that equation, what makes the game more competitive, and what should be taken out of the game to make it more competitive, right? Because something like a nutmeg needs to be limited as much as possible for the sake of competitive and for the sake of pushing a game that is user decision based and less RNG based. If you guys wanted realism, like I said, you'd be playing PES, not this, because PES has the slowness of next gen FIFA hypermotion without all the gimmicks. So why the hell are you guys not playing PES? That's right, you don't want realism. You don't want realism. You're either addicted to packs or you like the gimmicky features. That's why you're not playing PES. If you made it this far in the video, you're a legend. Type in the comments, cancel these nuts. But yeah, in summation, this game is not realistic. Old games were not unrealistic if we're comparing it to this game. PES or eFootball is the only realistic representation of football. So if that's what you want, play it. And if you realize that's not what you like, then understand that you don't like the realism aspect of FIFA 23, because realism is more than not being able to turn. And also, I never wanted realism either. I thought I made it abundantly clear that I mean, most people understood it, but you get the odd person there saying, I thought you wanted realism. No. I made it abundantly clear what I like, what I don't like, where I think realism has a spot, and where I think you need to bend the rules. At the end of the day, I want a fast-paced game with a bit of a realistic interpretation. That is, that you play a game that naturally has a meta where you want to pass and move and have the vision and the offensive AI, and you know, there's certain fundamentals like keeper marks the first.
I also think, in terms of speaking about realism, the offensive AI in FIFA is horrendous. The fact that you have to go in the final third 24/7 and player lock players at the high level to even just get open is crazy.
Post, like you want to push your opponents to the outside. You know, there's certain fundamentals that have a space, but then other things like nutmegs and that need to be limited, and rebounds need to be limited to help and aid the direction of a game that should be competitive friendly. Because, like I've said many times before, just because you're a casual player, at the end of the day, this is a 1v1 game, and
right,
when two people play, whether they're casual or not, at the end of the day, you need to create a game where the result is going to be dictated primarily by the decisions you make, and those decisions ideally are not gimmicky features that we have seen in the years implemented in football video games, but rather those decisions are more thought process, speed process, how fast you can make decisions, just sometimes the intricacies of I should have passed here and then down before going for the direct through ball, because that would have opened up 6 different scenarios. These tiny intricacies are what used to make FIFA fun, great, beautiful, and yeah, all that stuff. And they used to have a little bit of that, and they should have built on that, but instead they completely decimated that sort of beauty that I've shown you guys in previous videos,
right,
and gone a completely different route, automated everything that should be a skill gap, and then added gimmicks on top of that to help create some sort of broken skill gap. The result is now a game where you see goals like this one. I remember this was a tweet, right? Someone said FIFA 23 is for the football purists, the passing, the movement, thinking 3-4 passes ahead to unlock a defense or find the space in the midfield. You're not able to just run around players flicking your left.
I mean, there is a skill to what Tex is doing right now, but
that meta, what he described at the end, is not leaving, because then Kurt showed this text goal. And I mean, realism, like,
it's just, this is not realistic is the point.
This is it. Like, the meta, it's an ISO game. Like, 22 bystanders as the guy with the ball goes in and out and back and forth. So when people say this game's realistic, like I said before, I don't know what the fuck they're talking about, right? And some people will like this goal, some people will not. But the point is, we have gone from an era where the vast majority of goals were passing plays to this.
And like, yeah, that's really the gap though at the high level. It's all about the isolation. It's all about that. I was speaking today about how I actually felt like when the game came out this year, when every player was really hard to turn and stiff and all that, that actually wasn't a problem. The issue was 2 things. The defending was too overpowered and the game was too slow. If they had made the game speed faster, so the speed of passes, and the defending worse, where we were at early on in the FIFA before they boosted dribbling, I think the stem of a lot of this game's problem is the fact that the AI is so overpowered defensively that people feel the need to kind of get this isolation and do all these skills, whereas you just can't really pass around the defenders. So yeah, I think it's a great video. I like doing this reaction stuff, so if you guys enjoy it, drop a thumbs up, and yeah, we'll be back for another video soon. great thoughts in this video overall. I don't disagree with a lot of it, and it's just crazy for me to see that. I feel like the last time FIFA really had that skill gap of like that football feeling was really FIFA 18. It's so long ago. So wow. All right, guys, thanks for watching. See you guys later. Peace.